Hello students, this is Manoj sir taking class for you The Merchant of Venice. Today we shall begin The Merchant of Venice, Act 1, Scene 1. I have divided this scene into two parts. Today we will only do the first part. Before we go to the text, let's know the characters who are present in this particular scene. They are Antonio, Salarino, Salanio, Bassanio, Lorenzo, and Graciano. This scene takes place in the street of Venice. Okay, so you see, when the scene opens, we find that Antonio, the merchant of Venice, in very sad mood. He is in melancholic mood, and he has two of his friends with him. They are Salanio and Salarino. They are trying to find reasons for his sadness, and so they give various reasons and try to make Antonio very happy. Now let's go to the text. Antonio says, "In sooth, I know not why I am so sad. It worries me. You say it worries you, but how I caught it, found it, or came by it, what stuffs it is made of, whereof it is born, I am to learn. And such a want which sadness makes of me, that I have much ado to know myself." Antonio says that he is very sad, but he himself does not know the reason for his sadness, that why he is sad. Then Salarino speaks, "Your mind is tossing on the ocean, there where your Argos is with portly sail, like signors and rich burghers on the flood, or as it were the pagans of the sea, do overpeer the pretty traffickers that courtesy to them do them reverence, as they fly by them with their woven wings." This means, Salarino says that your mind is actually worried about your cargo ship that is in the ocean, like those of gentlemen. Here, signor or burghers means gentlemen or the wealthy people of Venice. However, the ships overcome the sea and the small boats, who look at them with reverence and respect as they pass by them with their woven wings. See the next line. Salanio speaks, "Believe me, sir, had I such venture forth, the better part of my affections would be with my hopes abroad. I should be still plucking the grass to know where sits the wind, peering in maps for ports and piers and roads, and every object that might make me fear. Misfortune to my ventures, out of doubt, would make me sad." Salanio says that if he had such venture of his ships, he would hope that his cargoes reach the destination, that is, the abroad, safely. Besides, he would pluck the grass and throw in the wind to know that to which direction the wind is blowing, whether the wind is favoring his ship to go in proper route of the destination. Beside that, he would look for map to find out ports and piers and roads, so that they could hold there to avoid such wind, the wrong wind, that would divert the cargo ship to wrong direction. And he would be sad to know every doubt and misfortune. That is what he says. Then Salarino speaks, "My wind cooling my broth would blow me to an ague when I thought, what harm a wind too great at sea might do? I should not see the sandy hourglass run, but I should think of shallows and of flats, and see my wealthy Andrew docked in sand, veiling her high top lower than her ribs to kiss her burial." That means Salarino says that the wind terrifies him when he thinks of it, as he cools the soup, that is broth. It is making him to shiver while thinking that a wind has such power to harm at sea. He says that he should not see the sandy hourglass. Here, sandy hourglass means an hourglass, an instrument which was used to tell the passing of time. So, he means that he should not see that because it would remind him of danger of hidden sandbanks and shallow water. Here, Andrew means ship. It is the common name used that time. That means the danger of ship getting stuck in the sand where the water is not sufficient deep for a ship to sail. Then next line, should I go to church and see the holy edifice of stone and not bethink me straight of dangerous rocks, which touching but my gentle vessel's side would scatter all her spices on the stream, and robe the roaring waters with my silks, and in a word, but even now worth these, and now worth nothing. Shall I have the thought to think on this, and shall I lack the thought that such a thing by chanced would make me sad? But tell not me, I know Antonio. But tell not me, I know Antonio is sad to think upon his merchandise. Then again, Salarino says that if he goes to church by seeing the structure of a stone having wall and roof, it would remind him of dangerous rocks in the sea, to which his ship may dash and get destroyed. As a result, all the products of spices and silks would be engulfed by the seawater. So he is unable to decide that whether he should have such thought or should he avoid thinking of such things that would make him sad. Then he is back to himself and says that not like me Antonio is. He says that he knows very well to Antonio and says to him that Antonio is sad because of his merchandise, and that is the cargo ships that are in voyage. The next line, Antonio speaks. Believe me, no, I thank my fortune for it. My venture are not in one button trusted, not to one place, nor is my whole estate upon the fortune of this present year. Therefore, my merchandise makes me not sad. You see here, Antonio says that to believe him and rejects the idea of the logic put by both Salarino and Salanio. Then he goes on to say that his business was not in one ship concentrated, neither were they going in one direction. Rather, they were scattered or traveling towards all the directions. He also gives another reason that he did not depend upon the profit of that year. That's why his business does not make him sad. Then Salarino speaks. Why then? You are in love. Antonio, 5. And Antonio disapproves Salarino and says, no, don't speak rubbish. Because Salarino had said that what is the reason then? Maybe you are in love and because you are unable to express or maybe rejected by the girl, so you are sad. And that's why Antonio is saying 5. Then Salarino speaks, not in love neither. Then let us say you are sad because you are not merry, and 'twere as easy for you to laugh and leap and say you are merry because you are not sad. Now, by two-headed Janus, nature hath framed strange fellows in her time, some that will evermore peep through their eyes and laugh like parrots at a bagpiper, and other of such vinegar aspect that they will not show their teeth in way of smile, though Nestor swear the zest be laughable. The words of Salarino means that if you are not in love, then let us say you are sad because you are not happy, not feeling of joy. And if you are happy because you can easily jump, laugh and make merry, so that you can say that you are not sad. Then Salarino goes on to compare Antonio with two-headed Zenus, who was known to be Roman god and had two faces, one smiling and the other frowning. They were normally kept at the doorway, one face looking inside and the other outside. This image shows the contradiction in human nature. You will find that some people laugh anything and everything, but some do not laugh. They are so serious that even you crack a joke, they will not laugh. Then you see the next line, Salanio. Here comes Bassanio, your most noble kinsman, Graciano and Lorenzo. Fare ye well. We leave you now with better company. Salarino, I would have stayed till I had made you merry if worthier friends had not prevented me. So here you see that Salanio announces the arrival of Bassanio, the best friend of Antonio, and together with him there are Graciano and Lorenzo too. Then they both, Salarino and Salanio, decided to take leave of them, saying that we leave you now with better company. And Salarino gives the excuse that I would have stayed till I had made you happy. Okay, if your worthier friend means better than me, your friends would not prevent me. That's what he says. Let's see now the next line. Antonio speaks. Your worth is very dear in my regard. I take it. Your own business calls on you, and you embrace the occasion to depart. So Antonio thanks and acknowledges their presence and says them not to give excuse for their departure, as he knows that they leave because their business calls them. And then there is entry of Bassanio, Lorenzo and Graciano. And as they pass by, both Salarino and Salanio, they pass by to Bassanio and those two. Since Salanio and Salarino are the comedian of the play, Bassanio just asks, when shall we laugh together? That's what he says. And Salarino replies him saying that soon, when we will make our free time to meet you. Then Lorenzo speaks. My lord Bassanio, since you have found Antonio, we too will leave you. But at dinner time, I pray you, have in mind where we must meet. And then Bassanio says, I will not fail you. So here Lorenzo asks the permission of his masters. Okay, who is his master? Bassanio. That they would like to take leave of him along with Graciano, since Bassanio already found whom Antonio his best friend, and he tells that it is no point for them to staying with them. So he tells him that they would meet at dinner time. And what reply Bassanio gives is that he will keep the promise and will not fail him, and surely he will meet him during the dinner time. The next line, Graciano speaks. You look not well, Signor Antonio. You have too much respect upon the world. They lost it that do buy it with much care. Believe me, you are marvelously changed. And Antonio says, I hold the world but as the world, Graciano, a stage where every man must play a part, and mine a sad one. So Graciano says, because he notices to Antonio and says that he looks sickly because he pays too much attention to worldly matter, and he has changed a lot. And to his saying, Antonio replies to him and says, no, not at all. I don't pay too much attention to the worldly affairs, but I give as much attention to it as it deserves. Then he tells that the world is a stage and all of us are actors, as we all are given separate roles to play. And he says that his is a tragic one. Now let's see what Graciano has to say. See the next line. Let me play the fool. With mirth and laughter let old wrinkles come, and let my liver rather heat with wine than my heart cool with mortifying groans. Why should a man whose blood is warm within sit like his grand desire cut in alabaster, sleep when he wakes, and creep into the jaundice by being peevish? By this, Graciano means that in that case he would like to play the role of a fool. In Shakespeare, fools were supposed to be the wisest of the lot. They make people laugh with their witty or funny talks. He would like to remain in that till his old wrinkles come. This usually come in the old age. And so he says that he would not like to be like his grandfather's stone statue, sleeping when he is awake, and he does not want to catch jaundice by being ill-tempered. Here, peevish means ill-tempered. See the next line. I tell thee what, Antonio, I love thee, and it is my love that speaks. There are a sort of men whose visages do cream and mantle like a standing pond, and do a wilful stillness entertain, with purpose to be dressed in an opinion of wisdom, gravity, profound conceit, as who should say, I am Sir Oracle, and when I open my lips, let no dog bark. O my Antonio, I do know of these, that therefore only are reputed wise, for saying nothing, when I am very sure, if they should speak, would almost damn those ears, which hearing them would call their brothers fool. That means not only that he tells Antonio that there are many people who deliberately put on the face of seriousness because they want to be thought or treated as wise person. But according to Bassanio, if they are examined, you will find them to be a real fool. See next line. I will tell thee more of this another time, but fish not with this melancholy bait, for this fool Gurgeon this opinion. Come, good Lorenzo, fare ye well a while. I'll end my exhortation after dinner. So here at last Graciano advises Antonio not to use his sadness as a bait, that is prayer for another creature, especially like fishing time we bait, isn't it? To excessive popularity. So to achieve popularity, he should not use that. Then he calls on Lorenzo to take leave of Antonio and Bassanio. The next line, Lorenzo speaks, well, we will leave you then till dinner time. I must be one of these same dumb wise men, for Graciano never lets me speak. So Lorenzo says that they will meet at dinner time, and he wants to be one of the dumb person who speaks very less, because staying with Graciano doesn't give you any opportunity to speak. Then Graciano says, well, keep me company but 2 years more. Thou shalt not know the sound of thine own tongue. And Graciano says jokingly that if you give me 2 more years time, then you'll forget to speak only. You'll forget your own mother tongue. Then Antonio speaks, farewell. I will grow a talker for this gear. Graciano, thanks, faith, for silence is only commendable in a knave's tongue tried. So Graciano said, no. Silence is the best policy, and it is only liked and appreciated by everyone. That's what he says. So dear student, for today here we end the first part of Act 1, Scene 1. So as you have seen, do not forget to subscribe my channel and also please press the like button. Thank you.